For starters, forget everything you ever imagined a drug smuggler to look, think, or sound like. Now, meet Howard Marks.
I think the stereotype of a drug dealer is probably wrong. I've certainly met many charming, engaging, intelligent people within the marijuana trade. Most of them don't get caught, which is perhaps why I'm exposed rather more than the others.
If Mr. Marks seems uncommonly cheerful for someone in the slammer, perhaps that's because there's nothing common about him.
Howard is a fascinating person. He's charming, he's engaging, he's brilliant.
That's Marks's defense attorney, Stephen Bronis, talking. Remember, this is a man who's seen lots of drug dealers.
But I've never met anybody quite like him.
And even a less sympathetic observer like Tom Cash, the U.S. drug agent largely responsible for busting Marks, offers this backhanded compliment.
I described Mr. Marks from all of the travels that he had as the Marco Polo of the drug world.
I hate the word drug for marijuana, but then if I describe myself as a herb smuggler, it seems as if I'm trying to make a point, which is not going to go down too well. But I do regard marijuana as a harmless herb, which has a relaxing effect.
But you're not exactly a weekend gardener either.
No, no.
Marks may be the only federal defendant whose IQ matches his 8-digit prison number. During the 1960s, he earned 3 advanced degrees from England's prestigious Oxford University. But seduced by the era's peace, love, and drugs anthem, the scholar turned smuggler. Very radical, very quotable.
During the 1960s, you were talking about your ambitions for the future, and you said the only avenues seem to be rock and roll, marrying a rich chick, being a professor, or becoming a crook.
Yes, yes.
How many of those 4 have you achieved?
None of them.
You've never been a crook?
I've been a crook. I don't think I was a successful crook.
You'd never convince police agencies around the world of that. They say he parlayed a pot-smoking pastime into a world-class drug ring, spanning 6 continents and netting $175 million in total revenue. Marijuana, grown in Middle and Far Eastern fields, was turned to hashish in a factory in Karachi, Pakistan. Beginning in 1970, he reportedly shipped 75,000 pounds of marijuana and 40,000 pounds of hashish into the U.S. and Canada, often to the sounds of rock and roll.
Hash should be put into the speakers and taken out in America.
So in the speakers of a rock and roll band sat pounds of marijuana or hashish?
That's right, yes.
Any rock and roll bands that we might know?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Eric Clapton, Genesis, Pink Floyd.
Though Marks says the bands never knew of the scam, British Customs did, and first arrested him in 1973. But he disappeared before his trial, eluding the police for the next 6 years. Add international fugitive to his resume.
Describe the 6 years you were a fugitive.
Probably the best 6 years of my life. Wonderful 6 years. Never having to be on call for anyone, never having to give one's phone number to anyone, changing identities as often as I wished. I found it fascinating.
Call it Howard's Walter Mitty phase. Marks, alias Donald Nice, alias John Goddard, alias Roy Green, and with each fake passport, a new persona.
What was your favorite personality?
I think a film producer, actually. I enjoyed being a film producer very much.
Why?
Well, because of the reasons that anyone enjoys being a film producer. I mean, lots of glamour, lots of famous people. And I produced a film called Life After Elvis, which was always one of my ambitions. So I could exploit some of my fantasies, basically, before they exploited me.
But his fantasy ended abruptly in 1981. Arrested at an English pub and put back on trial, he then stunned prosecutors by revealing and proving he held yet another occupation, British spy. Recruited by a classmate from his Oxford days, Marks persuaded the jury his drug smuggling schemes were just a front, used to help his government uncover arms smuggling by the Irish Republican Army. The jury acquitted him.
We have an expression here, I don't know if you have it in England, playing both sides against the middle. Is that what you were doing in part?
No, I wasn't playing either side against each other or the middle. I mean, I had to give a true account of my activities, and which included my work for British intelligence, and that got sympathy from the jury.
Should you not have been acquitted?
Oh, I think the system of British justice should be upheld. I wouldn't criticize it
You
for
say
a
that
second.
with a smile. It sounds
You
like
bet.
you think you're a criminal.
Pardon? I think I was lucky to get acquitted, and I was surprised to get acquitted. I think that's all I need to say about that.
His acquittal gave Marx legendary status in the British press. Brits loved it, the police hated it. And when a book came out detailing Marx's bravado and the government's bungling, drug cops around the world could